In this video, I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how I turn PDF files into booklets so I can read them on the train, anything I want to do, make notes in the margins, that sort of thing. This is just a simple booklet, be printed on both sides of the page, stapled down the middle, and folded in half. Nothing fancy. And I use a free program that I got. Actually, it's a program that I have a free limited version of. It makes a little watermark imprint on the side of your first page after you process a PDF file. But it works, and if you want to upgrade, I think it's about $50 to get the full version. But first, let's find a file. Usually, I look for something. When I do booklets, it's usually about 35 or 40 pages is the break point before the book becomes too thick to bind this way. So I usually look for something 35 pages or less, but that really depends on the thickness of the paper you use. So if you use a thin page, a lightweight paper, you can get away with more pages than 35, and if you use a heavier paper, you're probably going to be down around 15 or 20 pages in your booklet before it gets too fat. So I'm going to use just regular bond paper, so anything up to about 35 pages is good. I've got this little short PDF file that was downloaded from a website, and we'll use that as our example. And so I'm going to right-click on it and open it with Qt PDF Pro. That's the software that I downloaded. I'll get that to pop open here. Let me shrink this down so you can see the interface. This is going to be a little bit hard to read once it's all shrunk down, but I think you'll be able to work it out. Qt PDF Pro is standalone, very easy to use, pretty straightforward. So I will get right to it here. They've got a little booklet icon right up here, so you can see we've got a 15-page PDF file, and this is the look for page. You can see it's already got pretty good margins all the way around it. So I will go straight into the booklet tool, and that brings up this pop-up window, and here's the settings that I use. First thing that I do, especially if there's good margins already set on the document, is I set all the margins to 0. You want to do this so that your conversion here doesn't add even more margins, because if there's a margin there already and you've got additional margins set, you may end up with some very small text in the middle of a page with a lot of margin white space around it. The next thing that I tend to do, and this is optional, is I turn off the proportionality setting and then change the scale to specified. And now I'm using American page dimensions here, and the US page dimensions are 8.5 by 11. So if you turn that sideways and fold it in half, that gives you a 5.5-inch page wide by 8.5-inch tall. So I use those settings. Now this may cause, depending on the original dimensions of the PDF file, this may cause some stretching as the document is stretched to fill the page. Whether or not you want to do this or not is purely a judgment call. Sometimes that stretching can be pretty obnoxious and makes the text hard to read, but I prefer that to having a huge chunk of white space at the bottom of the page if the page dimensions don't line up exactly. So it's a judgment call, but I tend to use these settings right here. Now the binding type, by default, if you leave it like this, it will create a booklet. So it will impose the pages, is what printers call it. It will shuffle the pages around so that when all the pages are stacked together, stapled in the middle, and folded in half, everything will read front to back in the right order. You can also print out larger books, and for that you would use the book setting. And when you do that, it asks you how many sheets per fold. So basically you can create what's called a signature, which is a group of pages stapled together or bound together down the middle and folded in half. Sometimes I do this and I print one sheet per fold, so basically every sheet folds in half and creates 4 pages front to back, and then you can stack a whole bunch of those together, glue them along the edge, and create a book. But for our purposes here, we're just going to use the normal binding type, which is going to create a booklet where everything is resorted so that the pages stack up and staple in the middle. And once you've got those settings together, that's basically all there is to it. Just click OK. And in a few seconds here, you see that it's shuffled the pages. Now the page is twice as wide. You can see we've got pretty good dimensions all the way around in the margins, so it's not there's not a lot of extra white space at the bottoms of the pages. Another thing you'll notice, it created this watermark right here automatically, and there's only one thing you can do to get rid of that is to pay for the full upgrade to QPDF. But let's zoom in here just a little bit. Let's see, I'm not sure if there's page numbers on this document. No, there are not. But you can see, if you read through this, the pages have been sorted out so that if you print them front and back on a sheet of paper, when you're done, you'll have a stack of pages that can be stapled in the middle and folded in half. And that's really all there is to it. To print it out, just click the File, Print. If you're using a printer like mine where I don't have duplex printing, where the printer will automatically do fronts and backs in one pass, the way you want to handle it is select Print All, and then choose Odd Pages Only first. Run that through, flip the stack over, and then select Even Pages for the second pass, and it will basically print the odd pages on one side and the even pages on the other, and then you'll have your complete booklet. So that's really all there is to it. Nothing fancy, but a really great way to get ebooks off your computer and into your hand, where you can take them away, read them outside, on the bus, on the train, make notes, what have you. So I hope you enjoyed that. Hope that's a helpful little tip for you. Take care.